Hi, this is Jamie and Renee Pomonis with Guild Mortgage, and I'm with Keller Williams. So we wanted to come to you today and just kind of talk to you a little bit about some of the first steps of purchasing a home. And so you'd be surprised of the people that hit contact for more information on Realtor.com or Zillow, and they've not spoken with a realtor or, don't have a clue about what to do. So we just kind of want to start a little education series that give you guys some hints on how to successfully go about and purchase a house, and some of the first things that you need to do. So one of the very first things that you need to do before you even get online and start looking is call a lender. So I've brought a lender here today. Her name is Renee Pomonis, and again, she's with Guild Mortgage. And what do they do whenever they come to your office to apply for a loan?
Usually we get a phone call first.
Okay.
Usually they call first, and we'll do a loan application over the phone, and I'll send a disclosure to them so I can pull credit, and we go from there. But the main thing is seeing what you qualify for and getting everything together for us, and getting that over to us so that we can see what programs are available for you. Sometimes there's some down payment assistance programs that helps you with your closing costs and your down payment, and just knowing which, if you need a FHA, USDA, or a conventional 1% down, 3% down, there's just so many options out there. The first thing you need to do is get pre-approved.
Right. And you said, so you like what you qualify for, because you know how many people call me and they're like, well, I feel like, I want to look at a $300,000 house. And that's all great, but you know what? There's never a disappointment like me going ahead and showing you a $300,000 house, and then really in the end, when you find out what your monthly note is, you say, well, you know what, I might be able to qualify for that, but I don't want to spend that much money a month. So if you don't want to spend that much money a month, then we have to figure out what price range house that you need to be looking at so that you don't go and look at a $300,000 house and then you're disappointed and nothing ever stacks up the way that you expect it to when you just went and looked at a $300,000 house. So it's
And
like,
one of the first questions I always ask anybody is, what's your comfort zone? What's your comfort zone? Where do
Right.
you want your house payment to be?
Right.
And sometimes they'll say, oh, we want it to be at 600. Well, they don't realize, well, that puts you into what, maybe $80,000 house.
yeah,
Or they say they want a 1,300, but they're looking at $250,000 homes.
right.
So, when you get down to the reality and the nuts and bolts of it, what really is your comfort zone is the first
Right.
question that should be asked.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and y'all, a lot of times the buyers want to ask me that question. And I can get on there and do a mortgage amortization just like you can. You can get online and play with those numbers, but that's not my expertise. That's not what I have a license to do. She does. And that's not something that, it shouldn't be left up to the real estate agent to be giving you all that information. There's got to be some communication between the lender and the agents, and, you as a home buyer, you should want to be able to go out and have that conversation with the lender in the very, very beginning of saying, hey, where am I at? Where do I need to be looking? And the next thing is in this market, you know what, today, if you don't have a pre-approval letter and you go out and we spend a week looking at homes, and then guess what, you decide you want to make an offer.
And there is a difference in a pre-approval letter and a pre-qualification letter.
What is it? What's the
It's
difference?
if you come to me and has not been in front of your file has not been to an underwriter to get validated, I'm going to give you a pre-qualification letter. If you come to me and we process it all the way through, we get employment verifications, bank verifications, we do a whole complete process. It goes to the underwriter. They will issue a pre-approval guarantee letter upon finding a property, and so then all we have to do is appraisal on the property.
That's right. So the difference too in between being pre-qualified and pre-approved, a pre-qualified letter, so you go in and you get the full pre-approval or the full pre-qualify. The chances of a deal falling through later, because you haven't been fully underwritten, could be, how many of those do you have? That sneak up on people and say, oh, well, I didn't know about all this debt that you didn't tell me about, or whatever, whenever you originally pull credit. So those are the kind of things that are found out, a week or so down the road. But if you go ahead and you give them all your tax statements, all your documentation, and all that stuff in the very beginning, it's surefire that, you will be able to purchase a home later with no hiccups, no surprises. The stress is like, oh my gosh, completely eliminated at that point, because you're not worried whether or not you're going to qualify for this loan.
At that point, we have them approved and we're just saying we need to do an appraisal. Let's do the appraisal,
Right.
and that's taking you 2 to 3 weeks to get those back.
Right,
So all
right.
the hard part's done and over.
Right, absolutely. So all the running, because whenever we go under contract, we'll go under contract and you've got 10 days to do your option period, which is an inspection and all that good stuff. So whenever the inspection is happening, you're more concerned about making sure that that house is something that you really want to buy, that it's not going to burn down tomorrow, that the plumbing is all good and all that kind of stuff. So we can go in about how the inspection process works in a little bit in a different conversation, but that's what your first concern is whenever you get ready to go under contract, is those inspections. You shouldn't be wanting to or having to run back and forth to the lender with all these documentations, during that time frame.
So Jamie, what do you see as the difference? Like whenever you're presenting a contract to a seller and they've got a pre-approval letter versus a pre-qualification letter, does that hold any clout with a seller if there's other offers coming in?
Absolutely. I would go with somebody that's been fully underwritten
Right.
every time. Every time. If they're the same and I've got one that's not been fully underwritten and fully qualified, yeah, I'm going to advise the seller that, hey, look, this guy's already turned all his stuff in. There's not going to be any hiccups or surprises. There shouldn't be, because y'all have already verified all that, right?
And what about out-of-town lenders versus in-town lenders? I mean, do you see a big, online lenders, do you see a
Don't
big
get me
difference in
started.
that?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do see a big difference in that. Lord have mercy. So the difference is, okay, you've got to think, okay, on an out-of-town lender, they don't know this area. So we got to the closing table one day, and it was an out-of-town lender, nationwide lender, and without saying any names, we got to the closing table, and they didn't have windstorm on their HUD. So guess what that buyer had to go run out there and do? He had to take $1,700 out of his pocket and go pay for windstorm so that we could close the loan that day.
And that probably did it hold you up from closing, or did it close that day, or
We
did it have to
closed,
wait?
but had he not had $1,700 in his pocket,
Oh, wow.
we may not have closed
Exactly.
on closing day, because the out-of-town lender did not realize that we are in a windstorm county. You know what? Not all counties are in windstorm county around here. So we've got Hardin County, it's not windstorm. Jefferson County is windstorm. And so anytime you're looking at a county property in Jefferson County, you better make sure that you carry windstorm insurance.
And obviously, if you have somebody you've been working with a client and they're looking at properties that are not with a real estate agent, a real estate agent guides you through all that. So it's very
Absolutely.
important to have a real estate agent.
Right. People, I understand for sale by owners, I understand why they do it, but at the same time, a real estate agent, a lot of people think what we start the process in doing is we just go open the doors. That's not at all. That's not at all where our job starts. It may start there, letting you in the homes and letting you find what you want, you fall in love with the house and everything else. And it absolutely may start there. But that is not where our job really, really starts. Our job, I like to relate ourselves to the glue to the deal. Because without an agent in the middle of it, if you've never done it before, you don't have a clue, how to make sure that all the pieces fall into place and everything goes. And the seller sometimes is just hoping that you brought an agent to the deal to make sure that it did go smoothly, So sellers will go and stick their house up for sale and didn't really, have any kind of idea, rhyme or reason how they were going to put it all together sometimes. Now, some of them have, and some of them have worked out some situations where they welcome a real estate agent to bring them a contract, and that's what they want. They want somebody to bring them a contract, and I'm good with that all day long. Because, it keeps everybody informed. And the weather looks like it's going to be bad. Hopefully we don't get wet. And so, anyway, it just kind of keeps us, all abreast of what's going on. So anyway, if you're out there looking, and a lot of times for sale by owners will work with an agent if we call them. So if you see a for sale by owner out there and you want us to negotiate the deal, just say, hey, look, I was driving around the neighborhood and I want to go look at this house. So we'll pick up the phone and we'll call them for you on your behalf and we'll schedule it. And most of the time, they're happy to work with an agent. So just give us the opportunity to do that. We'll be happy to do it.
And if they're working with a for sale by owner, and that the seller has got somebody representing them, does that represent the buyer also?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Tell me about that, because I really don't understand. I mean, I had a
Okay.
client this week that was trying to say, hey, you really need to call your agent. I'm not an agent. I'm not licensed. I can't
Right.
talk to you about that.
Right.
So,
And the next thing you can't do is you can't write that contract,
No,
and you
no,
can't
no,
tell
no.
them what to do or how to do it
No,
or
I
anything.
cannot.
You can't advise. And so whenever, somebody has got somebody on the other end representing them, they're strictly under contract to represent that seller. It's the same thing as, you go into a listing and you pick up the phone because you saw the listing, in the street or whatever, and you say, okay, I want to see what this one's about. You know what? That listing is represented by that listing agent, and we represent the seller until we have a form filled out from a buyer, and it's called a buyer's representation agreement. we legally represent the seller. And it was one of the things that I learned in real estate school, and I was just like, huh, nobody ever told me that, you know? And so whenever I was sitting in class and the instructor said, yeah, did you know that legally whenever you walk into a listing and you're in there with that listing agent, that if you just walk in there and you say, oh my gosh, I love this house, I fell in love with it, and I would give them top dollar, that legally you're supposed to go back and tell the seller that?
I didn't even know that.
I didn't either until I was in school, and then whenever I learned that, I was like, ah,
Yeah.
you gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
And so anyway, you know, I mean, those are
And all
things.
these sellers now that have cameras, and if you
Uh-huh.
didn't, I mean, woo.
Right, exactly. And so at least if you've got a buyer's agent that says, don't walk in here and act like you love the house, because for sure you don't know if there are cameras in there, but you know, you're going to kill your negotiating power, you know, don't do that. And so, you know, you do have somebody on your side guiding you through the process. And so, you know what, the real estate commission for a buyer is normally always paid for by the seller. So, I mean, it's free to you anyway. So you're not saving yourself
And then when
any
things
money.
are happening, like an appraisal comes in and there's repairs, it's good to
Uh-huh.
have an agent representing you on that
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Because, you know, people get emotional, to say the least. They get a little bit aggravated at the other party for asking for all this stuff. And so if you got somebody in the middle, you know, at least going back between this person and this person, so I can get an earful from the seller, but it doesn't mean that I had to go to the buyer and tell him, you know, oh my gosh, you know, everything that somebody just said. We can at least all take a minute and vent and calm down and relay the message calmly, you know?
Yeah.
And so it helps, you know, whenever you've got somebody in the middle negotiating a transaction for you, so you're not having to do it all. And you know what? On the flip side of that, if you're a buyer and you want to come in and you really want to just lowball an offer, you know what? You're not the one that has to do it. You don't have to do it.
Right.
So there's power in that,
Yeah.
you know, of having somebody else to go in there and
Because
say,
you have to present any offer that they make.
that's right, you sure do.
Yeah.
Legally, you have to present it.
Even if it embarrasses you.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? And I've had people come up to me and say, well, I'm going to offer them this, you know, and it's $20,000 below list price. I'm like, okay, I'll submit it. But we need to submit it in writing, you know, because whenever you go and offer something that much lower than list price, you know, it needs to be in writing. You know, all these verbal offers and this stuff back and forth, people don't realize that you can get yourself in a bind just by sending a text or email or whatever. Nothing is in contract or nothing is done in real estate until it's executed and it's in writing. And it has to be executed. And you have to receive the earnest money.
Handshakes don't matter anymore.
Oh no, handshakes are no good. Don't go to the bank on that. So that's no good. I mean, you know, it's good to work with people that you know and you trust, but in real estate, handshakes are no good. So you can't do that. It's all got to be in writing.
One thing I like to say is if people want to deal with an online lender, too, ReneeTheMonist.com. It's online. You can download all your stuff online, and then you can still come in and talk to me and see
Yeah,
me
that's right.
and hold me accountable.
Right, exactly. That's a good point. That's a very good point. You know, and your rates are comparable to everybody else out there. It's not like your rates are higher. And some of the things that I noticed that you do have or that you don't have is you don't charge origination fees, do you?
No, we do not.
Yeah. So some of your lenders, and you're asking, what is the origination fee? I don't know. Well, generally it's 1% of the loan. So it could be 1 to 1.5 or more, right, of the loan.
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever you're shopping lenders, you've got to look at all of those things. Well, okay, this lender may not have underwriting, or they make it up in like processing fees or underwriting fees or whatever. So what are some of the ways that you see, you know, a kind of a masking of some of the other fees or whatever?
Oh,
You know?
you'll see people, and we can do this. We can go up on the interest rate to offset closing costs, or we can, you know, go as low down on the interest rate basically as somebody wants to, and let them pay discount points or originate or, you know, buy down fees. So I see that a lot of times that a lot of lenders will compare loan estimates, and they may be a to lower on their interest rate, but they're $5,000, you know, not $5,000, $1,500 higher on the closing costs.
Right.
So you know that makes a difference. If you know
Right.
we could do the same thing, and sometimes we can do the same thing, and it wouldn't be $1,500. It would only be $200 or $300. So.
Right, right. So it's just important. I mean, and it's just, you know, we always try to shop local, you know, I mean, support your local businesses and that kind of stuff, you know. I mean, I think that's just Southeast Texas for us. We try to shop local, so.
I think another really important thing about lenders, and I've worked at several different other mortgage companies. I've been with Guild for almost 5 years. Very important to find a lender who services the loans for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Because when you have somebody that's cut out the middleman, they're not selling the loan to an investor, there's a lot of the guidelines that go away. It's just easier to close. Closing costs are going to be less. Rates are usually going to be better. And then there's just a lot of little idiosyncrasy guidelines that just go away. And dealing with a local lender, they're probably, most of them will be, or we participate in all the bond loans. Anything out there that helps our home buyers or helps families get into homes, we try to have every one of those programs available for them.
You know, one of the things whenever I met you, you told me that you did not have investor overlays. And I stopped and I was like, what is that? You know, what does that mean? And she explained it to me in a way that made me, you know, help me understand, okay, your local, or some of your lenders, you know, because they sell their loans, correct? Whenever they sell their loans out, they have to go by all the guidelines of FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and all those guidelines. But then, whenever they sell their loans, the investors that have bought them also have guidelines. And so you have to, that's what's called the investor overlays. And so whenever you stack the overlays on top of what the regular guidelines are, they become even harder for somebody to get a loan. So now they have to jump through more hoops, you know, to get a loan. So if you've got somebody that's borderline on their credit and borderline on their debt to income ratio, whenever you go tack on these investor overlays, they may not qualify for all. So, you know, at all. And so that's one of the great things I love about her program, and she's able to get so many people, especially in the industry that we have going on in Southeast Texas, which is construction. You know, I've seen you work wonders with people because these construction workers will work and they quit, or they don't quit, but they get laid off. You know, and they go back to work and they get laid off, and they go back to work and they get laid off. Well, you know what? She's able to work with that. And so I don't know if that's because of you don't have the
We don't
overlays
have the
or what.
overlays. And one big huge thing about that is these people get a lot of overtime. And so as long as we can verify overtime for 2 years, I can use it. It doesn't have to be 2 years or even a year with the same employer. As long as I can go back for 2 years and verify they've had overtime or commission or whatever, I can use that income.
What about for them? Are you able to use that?
For them, we can use it as long as they put it on their tax returns. That's when it brings in tax returns, and we try to leave those out a lot of times.
You speak about tax returns. Do you require tax returns?
Case by case basis. Most of the time, if somebody's W-2'd and has a W-2 and a paycheck stub, we do not require them.
Okay, well, we've had a good talk, and I've enjoyed being able to do this. Again, my name is Jamie, and I'm with Keller Williams, and so whenever you're ready to purchase your home, give me a call at 409-656-9638, and be looking for us on our next video. We're going to turn this into a series, so just be looking for the next one. And this is Renee Pomonis.
Renee Pomonis with Guild Mortgage. My number is 899-5000, and my cell phone is 409-284-4369. We'd love to talk to you about purchasing your home.